Okay, it's 6:30. We'll bring the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the adoption of minutes from the June 20th, 2024 meeting. Okay, we don't have enough, so we'll table that for now because Councilor Kudrakis was going to abstain, so we don't have a quorum. He was not present. Okay. Next item up on the agenda is citizens' comments. And before that, I just wanted to, we skipped the thing. We are having the state of the town tonight. Agenda items, regular agenda items will be after the state of the town, in case you're looking through the agenda and don't see it on there. We do have motions to approve. So that being said, citizens' comments. Is there anybody that would like to speak?
Yep, Rob Helfrich, 349.
Yes. Oh, one other thing. Our speaker system is not working, so there's no microphone.
All right.
So if you could just speak up and enunciate.
Yep. Yeah, just want to make a couple of announcements. We have a couple events coming up for the Zach Helfrich Memorial Fund. We have our we had our golf tournament last Friday. A great day. Everyone had a great time. We had about 6,500, so that wasn't too bad. But we have our fundraiser at WT Brews on Tuesday, and this is something we do every year. We actually started a number of years ago. It would have been my son's 21st birthday, and it's at WT Brews. The lobster truck, Gold Coast Lobster Truck, will be there, and that's part of the tradition. It's from 5 to 7, and they're going to have the Zach Attack on tap, and I actually helped brew it over at WT's Brewery. So
is it a light beer?
Oh no. No. Last year when Terry brewed it, it was like 9.7%. It was like a double. No, we did
better only have a shot.
We toned it down. It's still a double, but it's going to be about 7.5%, so it'll be fine. So we have that. I'm pretty excited about that. That's always a great event. And then we have our big event, the Abbott Farms, and that is August 17th. And the run is at 9. The walk is at 10. And you can get information on all these events at our webpage, Zach Helfrich, or ZachMemorial.com, ZACH Memorial.com. And the 5K, big event. And we have over 60 memorials. I just made another one yesterday. So this is grown significantly. And they're all local loved ones from local ties. And the families come out for the memorials, as well as families come to the event just to have the discussion. So it's a great event for suicide prevention awareness. And so I got a bunch of other stuff I'm working on too. This is between now and August. It's kind of almost a full-time job for me, on top of everything else. So, but it's going good. And I just want to mention those two things for the Tuesday, WT's 5 to 7, and the other thing I want to mention on that I failed to mention is for every $10 your $10 donation, you get a free adult beverage, and that $10 goes to the charity. So Mike's giving away all his beer, so that's very generous of him. So it's and then of course the 5K August 17th. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Citizens' comments.
Now, since we don't have a microphone tonight, I might have to speak up. Did the supervisor get a call from Darren Glancy, I believe the pronunciation of the name is?
From the DEC?
From the DEC.
Correct, yes.
So, did she tell you that I reached out to her?
Yes.
Okay. Did she tell you the information that I foiled from the DEC?
No, she told me about the stewardship program.
Okay,
So we're looking into that.
that's the reason why I called her to bring that to her attention, because I became aware through foils that Onondaga County has a stewardship at 2 other boat slips, DEC boat slips, one being Skinny Atlas and one being the amphitheater. Okay, so for during the 2 weeks of the fair, the amphitheater gets a steward, and then Skinny Atlas gets a steward 3 days a week, the whole year. And I suggested that maybe we could do that in the town of Lysander to kind of eliminate some of the issues that are over there. While I had her on the phone, I informed her about, people using the area to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. And she was surprised to find out that there wasn't a bathroom facility out there. So
Right.
when you talk to her, maybe that's another thing that you could bring up.
Okay.
And so, did she tell you that I offered to perform that stewardship for free?
She did.
Okay.
She mentioned that.
Okay, so they actually pay, the other towns pay people. So I know you'll pay somebody else, but there's plenty of people that are interested in doing it, even though I offered to do it for free. Next thing, I'd like to address the board, but I specifically would like to speak to Mr. Moore.
Well,
Because
what's it in regards to?
it's in regards to this empty chair right here. As Mr. Moore knows probably better than anybody else on the board, from time to time when it comes to change of season from fall or from summer to fall, you kind of invoke a Norman Rockwell kind of scene, and you talk about one of our neighbors who used to come down here and be at every single meeting. And that's what I want to speak to today. Obviously, Jim Struzniak's health doesn't allow him to come to the board meetings anymore. I've attended at least 14 years of meetings when he's come down. And from what I've learned, he attended some 15 or 16 years at least of meetings before that. And so I've reached out and spoke with Mr. Rode over 2 years about what I'm speaking about right now, and our town clerk at least a year and a half ago. I think it would be a good idea, I think it would be a good story for the town of Lysander if somehow we could bring Mr. Struzniak in for a ceremonial meeting and possibly dedicate this chair to him with his name, and also provide him with a plaque, for the reason being that I believe he did a great service for our town and essentially was a set of guardrails for our community. There's years when he was the only one that showed up at the meetings, and he always sat in the same chair every single time. He never wavered. Other people move chairs all the time. Mr. Rode moved from a Republican chair to a Democratic chair. Mr. Kruderakis went from swimming in the deep pool to now he swims in the kiddie pool. But Mr. Struzniak always sat in the same chair. And I'm not offering this or suggesting this because he was a friend of mine. For like 10 years, he never even spoke with me. But I appreciated what he did. And in my opinion, I think he brought a better service to this town than even people that have sat up on the board for money. He hardly ever missed a meeting. And it's sad. I know Mr. Moore would feel the same way. It's sad that we don't have the privilege of having him here at the meetings with us. I think we could bring him in and give him a plaque, take a picture, put it in the paper. What I'd like to see is all the living supervisors. Mr. Bullis, Mr. Salisbury, Joe, and Bob. Those are the living supervisors from when he came down here. It'd be nice to get him in a picture. Messenger, give him a plaque like we gave Tony something he can bring back to where he's staying now.
Right.
And also dedicate a chair to him. Maybe somebody will see it 4 or 5, 6 years from now and ask somebody why is there a name on that. And then we'll have the seeds for telling Mr. Struzniak's story. And I'm reaching out to you because I think this might have hit home with you. I don't really want to put this off. I think there's some money's lying around. If not, I'll go out to the park for like a week And I know we can save tons of money if I just look for, we can get enough money where we can get this done. I don't think it's something the board should vote on. I'd like to be involved with it. One last thing. Like I said, I'm not doing this because Jim was my friend. But Jim became my friend one day when there was a knock at my door. And I opened it up. And Jim said, "Fred, I was wondering if you would help me with the spray park. I don't like what they're doing, and I want to slow that down, and I need some help." And I reached out, and I put my arm around him. I said, "Join the team." So that started my friendship with him. I miss him. Hope you guys take that to heart. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Citizens' comments? Okay, seeing no one else, we'll move on to town board comments. We'll start with you, Mr. Kourakis.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out today. It's a beautiful day, so thank you for sharing your time with us and discussing town board stuff. So other than that, we pass it to Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore.
I would also like to thank everybody for coming out. Thanks for watching on PAC. Fred, you are right. Jim is a friend of mine. We don't always agree, but that's one of the things that I liked about him. He's a good man. Other than that, let's stick to the agenda.
Okay. Supervisors' comments. We were sent a letter from Onondaga County. They are doing hazard mitigation public planning. Dina is going to put this up on the website. They would like public input. It will be Monday, July 22nd, this coming Monday, Department of Emergency Management Training Room. It's at 420 Electronics Parkway, Liverpool, New York. It is from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. The town engineer and myself will be there Monday afternoon working on our part of the hazard mitigation plan for the town of Lysander. The county has reached out to all the municipalities to update their hazard mitigation plans. This has to do with FEMA funding and trying to stop issues, flooding, natural disasters, other possible things that could, be hazards, to get the county aware so we can try to work toward taking care of some of these things before something happens, like tragic events over the last couple of weeks with Rome and the severe weather we've had and the tornadoes. I can't remember a point in time where we had this many different tornado outbreaks. And, here Tuesday I was pretty nervous when I saw the sky turn, and we luckily dodged a bullet. But last week, a tornado up Euclid area and Clay, and we've all seen the aftermath. We have some of our MEOs and park laborers here, and they get to deal with the pickup and cleanup of it. Everybody else who has trees and branches, it's climates, things are changing. We're trying to be proactive, so we're attending that, going through that process. The other thing I'd like to touch on is, this last weekend with, former President Trump, the assassination attempt. People got to remember, the people up here and your elected officials and the people who work for government, they're trying to do the best they can. People who run for government try to do the best they can. We've got to come to some kind of middle ground. We can't keep fighting at odds with each other. And I sit there and say that, and Lysander, and when you're in political parties, everybody's like, well, what's happening in Lysander? Because we tend to make the paper for what we do. And I've been on both sides of it. So, please remember, it seems like 10 or 12 years ago, nobody asked what party you belong to. Now, it really, for some reason, people care about what letter is after your name. I don't, and I hope that more people take a breath and, relax, reset yourself, and go, we're all trying to work together. We might have different beliefs, and we got to remember that there's many people out there that will push an agenda one way or the other, and I tend to feel that most people are common sense and want to work towards something, to come together to a common good to move their country, town, area, village forward. So I just ask that, before you go putting out negative, negative things, just remember, there's a human on one side of that somewhere. So that's all I'd like to say. Moving on to department head reports. Mr. Hergola, I know it's your first evening, and again, for everybody, this is Dave Hergola. He is part of Serial Law Firm. Mr. Rivazigno is no longer our representation. He's retiring, which he's been a mainstay of Onondaga County government in some shape or form for over 40 years. And most of the people who work at Serial Law Firm, I think, worked with or for Mr. Rivazigno at some point in time.
That's it.
Do you have anything tonight?
Nothing other than very happy to be here, and we're definitely looking forward to working for the town and helping the town accomplish whatever the board determines its goals are in the most efficient way possible.
Thank you. Colin Zapisic is our town comptroller. He's going to be giving the state of the town address at the end of the department head reports, so we'll come back to you. But do you have anything?
I just wanted to say that earlier this month we received the mortgage tax as well, and $288,149.93.
And that is the first of two payments. We get payments in June, July, and then usually December, I think, at the end of the December normally. And historically, the second payment is larger than the first. So we'll see where that ends up. But you never know. It all depends on mortgages and recording taxes. So was there anything else?
Other than the state of the town, there's nothing else.
Okay. Town engineer?
Nothing to see.
Okay. Town clerk?
Hunting licenses go on sale August 1st. We also have duck stamps. We have a limited quantity, so come in and get those as soon as you can because they go quickly. The post office runs out of them quickly as well. There's a little change with the New York State DEC, what they're doing. They are starting to ask us to print on regular paper this year. And back tags are no longer going to be used. So they're just getting rid of their printers, their Valoron paper. You're not going to have that little orange paper anymore. No need to wear the back tag. Just New York State's trying to save some money and not order that paper. So,
Okay.
any questions, let us know. Come to us and buy your hunting licenses because we are much nicer than anybody else.
And of course, we all agree with that. So,
That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, on to our State of the Town presentation. Mr. Zapisa. And I would like to preface this, remember, Colin just came on to the town in January, so he's talking about numbers and information that was done before him, so we've got to admit there's a curve there. He might not have every answer, and I may not have every answer, but we will do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Zapisa.
Yeah, so my name is Colin Zapisic. I'm the comptroller. I started at the beginning of this year. I just wanted to highlight a few key areas of the 23 financials. The topics of discussion will be revenue and expenditures, the fund balance, the tax levy and rate, the current debt, and the ARPA funds. So the 2023 financial results by fund. The general fund, or the A fund, total revenues were $2,291,661. Total expenditures were $2,289,374, leaving a surplus of $2,287. For the Park Town, or the B fund, the total revenues were $181,861. The total expenditures were $225,352, leaving a deficit of $43,491. And then the Highway Fund, or the DB, total revenues were $3,415,082. Total expenditures were $2,876,304. The surplus of $538,778. In total, across all funds, revenues were $5,888,604. Total expenditures were $5,391,030, leaving a surplus of $497,500. $574.
Excuse me, what is part-town?
Part Town is the B fund, which is outside of the village.
What it mainly consists of is planning and zoning and codes. Okay, it's, because they have their own, those services are inside the village, so we have to cover outside the village.
Now we're gonna look at the revenues actual versus budgeted. As we just discussed the actuals, I will move on to the budgeted. So the budgeted revenue for the general fund was $2,093,470, which means that the actual revenue was over the budgeted amount by $198,191. That number is made up of various accounts. Some accounts that I highlighted were the engineer fees were under budget by $85,750. That is because the 2023 budget included an in-house engineer that we don't have. We contract with CHA. So typically when the engineer is in-house, the district work that the engineer is doing is expensed in that district, and the revenue is then put into the general fund for them to be paid out from. Next is the mortgage tax, was $58,011 over what was budgeted. Franchise fees, $20,926 over what was budgeted. The park fees were $23,323 under what was budgeted, and that's because the 2023 budget included the summer day camp that did not take place. The interest penalties, $8,096. Rental of property was $2,804. And then interest and earnings, because the interest rates have been so high, we were over the budgeted amount by $83,922. Dog licenses were under by $938. Court fines were over by $18,636. Insurance recovery, $659. Federal aid and other general governments were $89,652 and $10,393 respectively. All other sources were $15,104 from various accounts, giving us the total of $198,191. Move on to Part Town. The budgeted revenue was $166,735. So the actual revenue was over budgeted by $15,126. That comes from the interest and earnings of $804 and $12,965 of it coming from building permits. $1,357 from various accounts, giving the total difference of $15,126. And lastly, the highway fund, the budgeted revenue was $2,957,521. The actual revenue was over budgeted by $457,561. $22,616 of that comes from interest and earnings. $10,000 was under for sale of equipment, and $9,000 under for interfund revenue. Majority of the difference in the highway fund came from CHIPS, with $449,820 actual revenue over what was budgeted, giving us our difference of $457,561.
Is it possible to ask a question on the previous screen?
Okay.
So you've got monies there from fines of $18,000. Would you happen to have any of those figures from the previous 2 years?
That number is that was over the revenue expected revenue.
Okay.
So that was in addition to what we had budgeted for revenue.
Okay.
We can go back and run a report that will show us the actual revenues for the previous year.
Yeah, I don't need it right now. I just, was wondering if that was possible.
Normally, when we do the budget, we usually have the trailing 2 years actual, so you will see those numbers at budget time.
So that those monies aren't really reflective of the total amount of fines that the court brings in.
That's over $18,000 revenue was over what was budgeted. So whatever the budget amount was, we collected 18,000 more than what we expected.
I don't have the budget sitting here to tell you we budgeted 60 and got 78,000.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just wondering if we can,
Yeah, remember, the town gets a cut every month, right?
Yes, every
We get a
month.
court,
Yep.
that, the state gets their part, we get our part.
Right.
It's our part.
I'm wondering if any of the tickets out on Plainville Road account for any of that.
Right.
Any other questions
No,
on
that's
this page?
appreciate it. No.
All right. Move to expenditures. So the first slide, we went over the actuals, so I'm going to focus on the budget here. So the budgeted expenditures for the general or the A fund were $2,583,122. The actual expenditures were under what was budgeted by $293,748. That number is made up of building operations, $15,136 under what was budgeted. Labor, $139,940. Most of that figure is the engineer that they budgeted to have in-house and the parks part-time employees for the summer day camp. That didn't happen. And then $41,890 for health insurance and benefits. We're under budget there. Legal representation, $3,505 under budget. And the general fund and all other expenditures from various accounts were under budget in total of $93,277. To get our total difference of $293,748 under budget for the expenditures in the general fund. Now part town or the B fund, the budgeted expenditures were $236,735, and it was the actual expenditures in part town were $11,383 under what was budgeted. $4,928 of that comes from labor, $3,023 from attorney or labor relations, and various accounts that make up $3,432 to get our difference. And lastly, the highway or the DD fund, the budgeted expenditures were $3,257,523. And the actual expenditures were under what was budgeted by $381,219. $69,012 of that was labor. The town budgeted for 10 MEOs, and I think currently have 9 MEOs, so that makes up that figure, as well as overtime for the snow removal. It's based on snow events, so depending on how much snow there is, determines how much overtime there is. And then the rest of the highway expenditures that were under budget, fuel, $52,255, road maintenance, $85,031, parts, $25,128, repairs, $37,494, and road salt, $78,907. And then all other accounts totaled $33,390 to get our difference of $381,219. I'll transition to fund balance.
So it looks like, I just one more question on that.
No problem.
Very good. So all the variances on the highway side,
Yes.
it looks like they were probably all related to just light winter.
That's right.
Correct.
Yeah.
For the most part, yes. And, one of our amigos here, he can tell you overtime was probably down considerably.
Yeah, compared to other winters, I've been told we've had some very mild winters the past couple
Yeah.
of seasons, so.
But we rely on the environment, right? So that, it's a hard thing to budget for when that can change that drastically, right? So it's,
Budget conservative.
yeah.
Any other questions on this page? Talk about the fund balance as of December 31st, 2023. Beginning of the year, general fund balance was $2,025,413. Take into account our surplus of $2,287. End of the year, fund balance as of December 31st, 2023 was $2,027,700. Part-town, beginning of year fund balance was $172,192. Deficit of $43,491. End of year fund balance was $128,701. Highway, beginning of year fund balance was $1,465,555. Surplus of $538,778. End of year fund balance in the highway was $2,004,333. In total, across all funds, beginning of 2023, fund balance was $3,663,160. Add the surplus of $497,574. And the end of year fund balance across all funds was $4,160,734. Into a fund balance breakdown. So the fund balance is separated into different categories. Non-spendable, general reserve, other restricted, equipment reserve, assigned appropriated, and unassigned. The assigned appropriated fund balance is what was appropriated to the 2024 budget. So the general fund balance for non-spendable was $38,480. General reserve, $1,094. Other restricted, $1,235. The assigned appropriated, $500,000. The unassigned of $1,486,890 to get our total general fund balance of $2,027,699. Part-town, non-spendable was $6,623. Assigned appropriated to the 2024 budget, $25,000. The unassigned, $97,078 to get a total of $128,701. The highway, non-spendable was $36,993. The equipment reserve was $340,000. And the assigned appropriated to the 2024 budget was $450,000. The unassigned fund balance for the highway fund was $1,177,339 to get a total of $2,004,332. Across all funds, total non-spendable was $82,096. General reserve, $1,094. Other restricted, $1,235. Equipment reserve, $340. And the assigned appropriated for the 2024 budget was $975,000, leaving unassigned at $2,761,307 for a total of $4,160,732. Yes.
So you have approximately $2.8 million in an unassigned fund balance. So I guess I actually understand them as reserves. And so my question is, as a percentage of the operating budget, do you have a target of reserve balance to hold against unexpected expenses like a terrible winter, for example? Is there a goal on the town board? I mean, I don't think there's a state restriction about what reserves you have to hold as a percent of operating budget, but I'm wondering if town governance has a goal of what they like that to look like.
I recommend that the board set a fund balance policy that they adhere to going forward. The state recommends a reasonable amount, so you have to look at your budget, obviously, to make that determination. The board can decide what a reasonable amount is for the town of Lysander.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's, To put that in a rough perspective, the general fund is about $2 million budget out of our town. The highway budget comes in at, almost $3 million overall. So looking at those numbers, that being said, like last year, our truck we ordered in 2022 has not come in yet. We got the letter, it's finally being shipped into the area. So a truck we budgeted 2 years ago didn't come in. What we have done in the past as a board, we don't encumber the funds. So if we had allotted $250,000 for a truck and we didn't get it that year, that money went back to the fund balance. So this year, I think our equipment fund is $261,000. It was $400,000 last year. Again, that truck that we have to budget for it in case it comes in, but it didn't come in again. So that money went back to the fund balance. So you will see, it's hard when your equipment doesn't come in the time frame you expect it to try to run your budget. And that's where, we have to have those funds to get that equipment. And right now we have 2 trucks that we ordered, one in 22, one in 23. If both of those come in this year, because of the way we do it, we don't encumber funds from previous years, we've got to make sure we have $525,000 on hand in case they call us and say, hey, both trucks show up. So it's an unfortunate misleading number to an extent, because the equipment reserve is what I call our float for ordering equipment. Mm-hmm. So we've got the money on hand if we have to pay for it in case something comes in a year late or a year early. That's wasn't a problem until COVID. So we have to, as a board, we can sit there, looking at those numbers, and then you've got to remember, that bottom, like you said, 2.7 million. We've got to decide, should we take some of this money and maybe create a building reserve account, or, appropriate those funds set aside.
You can keep them as just general rainy day reserves. I mean, SUNY Oswego is recommended by our creditors that 8 to 12% of the operating budget are held in cash reserves for things that happen that may not be covered by the SUNY system in New York or other. For example, Hurricane Sandy, SUNY New Paltz just got their FEMA reimbursement. We all know when Hurricane Sandy happened.
Right.
We all know it wasn't recent, right? And so you have to hold reserves because you can't wait 14 years for FEMA to put a roof on your building that you might have lost, or a piece of roof. So I'm just, so I guess you've recommended it. And I would hope, as you go forward in budget, that you be transparent about a policy about holding what reserves you would hold as a percentage of your operating budget, and what you think is prudent and what you shoot for. I mean, there might be some years, there are bad years where you could get down to 5%, and then you have to build it back up. But
Historically, do we know where that number has been trending? Just for example,
it's coming up.
I can remember years.
Spoiled cows.
I know.
I can remember years where we had a $1.5 million fund balance back in the day. So
right, and but you have to remember that was budgeted. You have to have that money to maintain your day-to-day operations. So it's like, oh, we can't order paper because we haven't got our mortgage recording tax funds yet. That's the one part of it.
I'm interested in seeing if this is trending up constantly,
right,
or is it an ebb and flow?
It's coming up.
Oh, and then now, say for example, like the driver said that we had a few light years, and so say we had a few heavy years, and say we were interested in maybe hiring 2 full crews in the highway department to run one at day and one at night. So they'd be using and sharing the same trucks, right? So if we had a truck or 2 that went down, what would we do to all those employees that we have employed on the night shift that are going to come in? What are they going to do? Play cards, or because they won't have a truck to plow? I mean, we got to consider those type of things before we.
Correct.
Okay? All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Take a 6-year look back at the appropriated fund balance. So 2024 here is what was on the last slide is the appropriated fund balance. You can see 500,000 in general, 25,000 part-town, 450 in highway, with a total of 975,000. It was up $105,000 from last year, 2023 budget. I'll just leave this screen up for a little bit so you guys can. Yep.
from a measurement perspective, as we report to the public, I would encourage you to either in addition or instead of nominal dollars aren't particularly informative. Because I think we all know that prices of a lot of the things the town buys are at least 20% higher in that time span.
Right.
Right, and so I think the dollar, but I do think percentage of the budget and percentage change helps us to gather
Right.
data that's more timeless.
Yeah.
So this is the total fund balance from 2018 to 2023. This is the trend. So from 2022 to 2023, it increased by $497,574. And it's been increasing slightly year over year. Now we're going to switch to the tax levy. Tax levy is the amount to be raised by taxes. From 2022 to 2023, there was an increase of $67,654. We'll take a look at the tax rate per 1,000 for taxpayers outside of the village. In 2023, the tax rate was $1.66 per 1,000. In 2022, it was $1.84. So it went down by 18 cents. So how can the tax rate go down, but the tax levy goes up? Because it's based off the assessed value. So the assessed value in the general fund from 2022 to 2023 went up $249,517,001. And in the park, town, and highway fund, it went up $212,535,444. Take a look at the current debt. The town of Lysander currently has 10 bonds. One of them will be coming off this year, the 2021 Western Star truck. And next year, a bond will be coming off refinance Town Hall. So the total debt originally issued was $4,356,497. And the balance as of December 31st, 2023 was $2,995,150 with $494,919 budgeted for 2024.
And just so most people see, a lot of those are special district bonds, which a lot of those bonds only apply to the districts that they're serving. Sewer districts, lighting districts, I don't think we have any drainage district bonds. So a lot of that stuff wouldn't be in necessarily an outside of neighborhood resident.
We'll switch again to the ARPA funds breakdown. The ARPA funds are the money that the federal government gave to municipalities for COVID relief. Some of the projects to highlight are the Town of Lysander website, the Study for Mills Road Water District, Cold Springs Super Study, Engine 91 website, Baldwinsville Chamber of Commerce, repair to the field at the park, the slip line, fireside water main, and various repairs and upgrades to drainage and sewer districts. Take a look at the amount approved versus the amount expensed. If the project is complete and the amount expensed is under the amount approved, then those funds can be reallocated to a new project. They must be committed by the end of 2024 and expensed by the end of 2026.
You got repair to the field at the park at 13,000. Do you have any line item numbers for that? Like what accounts for that 13,000?
No, it was the one project for topsoil and re-leveling.
So that would include topsoil labor and things of that nature?
Yeah, we'd have to go back and
With the labor
break
being-
down what the vouchers were that went to that 13,000.
Are you thinking labor would be in a different account and not part of that 13,000? 13 is just part of the materials?
At that, I would have to go back and look at the vouchers to see how it was broken.
Okay.
If it was just the topsoil and raw materials, or if we actually accounted for the labor toward that.
Okay.
Should give the balance of the Asian.
Are you gonna get to the next slide, Adam?
You guys are all jumping ahead here.
Take a broader view here, so the total amount received was $1,836,404.73. The total amount approved by the end of 2023 was $1,101,852. And the total amount expensed by the end of 2023 was $642,305.17. The remaining amount to approve was $734,552.73. That might increase if projects are finished and the expense is less than what was approved. And the remaining amount to expense was $1,194,099.56. Some projects have been approved, but no expenses have incurred. For example, the slip line, I think the work is expected to be done this year, or?
Yeah, we'll be working on that this fall as soon as we finish the rest of the catch basins on the north end.
Right. And the other part is the way the finances work for the ARPA, we report that at the end of March of the next year. So if you look back at some of those sheets like the website, the rest of the bills didn't come in until after March 31st. So they'll be, if you look and say, oh, we only spent 7,000, but they spent 16, you know, the website did come in at 17,000, I think, by the time we got done. I think it was 1,000 more. So those will be on next year's report because of reporting purposes.
So if you don't spend.
Oh, we'll spend that money. We have to have obligations by the end of December this year. We're not looking to turn any money away. You know, we're looking for one-shot projects, paving parking lots, fixing infrastructure, to use that because it should be one-shot stuff that you're gonna do and it's gonna be good for 15 or 20 years.
Right, yeah.
And we haven't had the opportunity to get something like that, and that's what a lot of municipalities did. They didn't really end up giving it out because the rules changed, and there's a lot of stuff that you kick the can on as a municipality that you don't want to raise taxes to fix a parking lot.
So my understanding is you have to have it spent this year,
You have to have
otherwise you.
purchase orders, contracts, and then you have 2 years to spend it. So we could get quotes, you know, and, oh, we'll do the project next summer or next fall. As long as we have those bills in hand, that money's accounted for.
That just needs to get done.
Correct. And really, between Cal and I, we're looking at today, the remaining amount, the 734 is a pretty rough number, you know, of course, minus what you see on the agenda today, you know, so.
Well, that concludes the presentation. I want to thank the board and all of you guys for attending. If you have any questions.
Just for you.
Just back on the point, I just want to kind of clarify, that you have to kind of, you only have 4 months left to essentially appropriate that $750,000, right?
I have the full confidence that we can come up with projects that will total over $750,000. And it will be stuff that the public would say, well, they'd be taxing us for that if they don't do it, so. You know.
Yeah, there's 35 right here on this today, yeah.
For one meeting, yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions? Or we get to the regular agenda items? And like I said, we'll have this up on the website. If you have questions, you know, feel free to reach out to us, stop by, we'll give you the answers.
Yes, for Colin.
Yes.
I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I got it, Reed. Thank you, Colin. Okay. Regular agenda items. Okay, motion A. I'd like to get a motion to approve the budget modifications as presented from the town council.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Discussion. As I said, I shut a lot of things here for some reason. So I don't have it up there and I can't see far enough to get them back up. I believe there were copies of it out with the agendas. We had some A-fund stuff and some highway budget modifications. If everybody's good with it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Oh, yes. Motion B, I'd like to get a motion to authorize council supervisor to send the letter of intent for the pro-housing community application.
I'll move it.
I will second.
Okay. Discussion. Okay. Councilor Karakis said no discussion, but we're going to discuss it anyway. It's just a simple letter
Oh,
of
yeah,
intent.
I didn't know if that was a question.
I
said no.
Still good. That's why I got this seat. You're lucky. I know, it's tough. It's a simple letter. We already hit the guidelines for a pro-housing community. So this is, and the funding we're looking for is tied to sending this letter of intent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Motion C, I'd like to get a motion to accept the bid from Doyle Security for the security access upgrades in Town Hall and the Highway Department in the amount of $34,935 using ARPA funds.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Thank you, because they would have been in trouble if you didn't. Discussion. As we discussed in the work session, we got the RFPs back in March. The town clerk and myself went through them. Doyle ended up being the best value, and we will probably decide after I just verify with the highway supervisor, one of the auxiliary buildings might come off this list, so it might come in more at the $28,000 range. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. I'd like to get a motion to authorize the town supervisor to purchase a shed and mower for Chase Cemetery using ARPA funds and an amount not to exceed $8,900.
I'll move it.
I will second it.
Okay. Discussion. Chase Cemetery is the one cemetery we mainly take care of. We do have a sexton there. We get a whopping 1 or 2 burials a year, and the sexton maintains the cemetery because of its uniqueness, and I'll leave it there. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Motion E. I'd like to get a motion to appoint Serial Law Firm effective July 1st as legal counsel at a monthly rate of $58,0833.
I will move that.
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion, as I stated multiple times, Mr. Rosigno is left. We went with the Serial Law Firm. I'm sure they were going to provide a great service. Mr. Herco will be here to enjoy every meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Motion F, I'd like to get a motion to appoint Lisa Berrigan to the positions of tax receiver, secretary to the supervisor, clerk to the comptroller, at the salary per the union contract. These 3 part-time positions are combined to create a full-time position.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion. Ms. Berrigan is in attendance tonight. Thank you for attending. She has big shoes to fill. Nancy Monted retired back in April, so I look forward to working with Lisa. Colin and I will greatly appreciate your presence. I can finally quit having to staple all the checks together and post all the bills as paid, and quit making mistakes, which will probably make our comptroller more ecstatic. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Motion G. I'd like to get a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the CHA Cold Spring Sewer Study EWA1 proposal not to exceed the amount of $12,300.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. This is done, the sewer study came in under budget. This will coincide with motion H to go for the grant application, and then we will use the remaining funds there and the additional funds below. but that will adjust that contract to the correct amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Motion H, I'd like to get a motion to authorize the expenditure of an additional $1,591.21 in ARPA funds to complete the task included in the Cold Springs Sewer Study, EWA, for the preparation of the New York State Consolidated Funding Application Package. The total additional expenditure associated with this task will not exceed $1,591.21 beyond the original fee for the Cold Springs Sewer Study.
I'll move it.
I will second.
Discussion, as I said before, this is to get the ball rolling on applying for grant funding or low interest loans from the state. And this is the funds we need to get the grant application finished. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. That being done, nothing else on the agenda. I'd like to get a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:25.
I'll move it. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion or meeting adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.